Good afternoon. You're welcome to Olainfarm second quarter webinar. And before we start, first of all, I would like to tell congratulations to Olainfarm from our side for the yet another record-breaking financial results. So forward, Salvis Lapiņš, the member of Olainfarm Management Board, will inform you in detail about second quarter results and the first 6 months of this year. But before Salvis begins with his presentation, a quick reminder for those who have joined us for the first time. Right after the presentation, we will open the floor for questions and answers. So you can use the chat pod on your right side of the screen to send in questions. We have also received questions via email, and the investors portal newsletter that will be given a preference, and we will address the rest of the questions right afterwards. So, Salvis, the floor is all yours with the presentation.
Great, thank you. Nice to see you all again. A special hello to people that I remember had the pleasure of meeting, to Andre, to Ionis, Segita, and all the others. It's nice to see that this is actually our 13th webinar, and there's still interest, considerable interest. We just counted today that the combined audience of these webinars is now approaching 650 people. So I think as a channel of dissemination of message, it's brilliant and it's fantastically efficient. So thank you all for staying with us, for being interested. Now let's look at how we have been doing during our last 6 months. And let's look at the second quarter separately first. So this has almost been our best overall quarter so far, where we made 25 million euros in sales. We are lagging behind some 4,000 euros only after the Q4 of 2012, and that remains our best ever quarter. Of course, as a second quarter, it is, as you see, as you look at the bars for the second quarter, this is by far the best second quarter we have experienced. Of course, the growth. If you look at the second quarter separately, the growth compared to last Q2 is very impressive in part because remember, and I'll be referring to it a number of times, we had this under-shipment to Ukraine in Q2 2013. So this is now making the growth look even more impressive. But of course, that is not the only thing that happened. I mean, we have been performing well, this is why you cannot explain everything by under-shipment to Ukraine last year. So we have been performing well in all the other aspects. So this is why the increase is so good. Out of these 25 million euros, pharmacies have made sales of 3.6 million euros, which is an increase by about 10%, and about 670,000 euros have been sales made by Sylvanos. Let me remind you that Sylvanos does not seem to be performing that well, although last couple of months they have demonstrated pretty good growth. But as you know, that company is pretty much focused on cough and cold products, the ones that actually should have been taken this morning. But as you remember, this winter of this year, early this year, the winter wasn't really tough, and so their products were not in high demand. So we were expecting a bit more from Sylvanos, but let's hope they catch up during the last months of this year. Now, if you look at the profits, according to our preliminary estimates, we're talking about 5.2 million euros in profits, and this is more than twice the amount of profit we made in Q2 last year. And again, we made these 5.2 million euros despite the fact that we decided to make provisions for our outstanding receivables from Russia and Ukraine. We keep hearing the news from that region over and over again, and to our estimate, the situation there is still very far from stable and predictable. So to be cautious, we decided to make provisions of a bit more than 1 million euros, which equals about 4.5% of our outstanding receivables from those countries. So if situation was different, we probably would have made a net profit of more than 6 million euros. But we decided to be a bit more careful. Also, this quarter in terms of profit is very clearly the best profit in corporate history. Also partially helped by, and this might sound a bit weird given the circumstances, but from purely bookkeeping point of view, the Russian ruble fluctuations over last quarter were favorable. And as we remember from previous webinars, we were talking about losses of several hundred thousands of euros over one single quarter because of adverse Russian ruble fluctuations. It has happened now that within this given 3-month period, the Russian ruble, although it's probably not currently the most stable currency in the world, nevertheless its fluctuations have been helping us to improve our profitability a bit. So if you look at the sales to countries in Q2 separately, finally we see Tajikistan, although it's only 1%, but it has appeared in quarterly top. Poland is much stronger than ever, as you see, with 3% sales. Some contribution from silver analysis also helped them, because that's one of the big silver analysis market. But we have improved our sales to Poland too, by meaning Olainfarm itself. And we do expect more shipments to Poland until the end of the year, so Poland might as well look good in our overall annual pie chart of countries. Despite all the issues, as you see, Russia and Ukraine are performing very well. Sort of bad piece of news really is that all the others are down to 6%, so there is a lot of concentration of sales in given countries. So there used to be a bigger number of others. Normally we're talking about something like 10% of our sales made to countries other than top 10 countries. Yeah, if you look at the product pie chart, basically the picture is pretty much the same as it is throughout this year. Generally this year you can see that Neometin share has decreased a little bit, and Nullfen is a little bit catching up, and also here you can see some concentration. You can see that the others are down to 8%, whereas normally they were between 10 and 11%. But generally you see the pie chart is being very, very typical for us, something that we have seen pretty much over the last several quarters in a row. So if you look at the first half of this year, look at the total picture. So we see the sales records, of course, 48.6 million euros, it's 41% increase. Again, partially explained by the shipments to Ukraine last year. Of course, very, very clearly, these are best 6 months by far that we have seen, and it's also 41% growth, not only over the last year, 6 months, but over previous best. Pharmacies have made 7.4 million euros in gross sales, or 4.7 million lats in net sales. Silvernos has only made 1.6 million euros in sales, so lagging a little bit behind the schedule, as I said before. Well, if you look at the profits, all the beautiful things I was telling you about, of course, got reflected here too. We're talking about 8.9 million euros in 6 months profit, and again, if recalling to what I was saying about the provisions of a bit more than 1 million euros. So if those provisions are not made, we'll be talking about 10 million euros profit for first half. So that would be very impressive growth. But as I said, we decided to be a bit careful, especially since the situation between these two countries and the EU is, I think, very, very far stable and predictable. So yes, the profit has grown by 73% compared to last year, and we see that more than 50% of the profit guidance is met. In the meantime, I see the poll questions are here, and pretty typical ones. Our first half results, how do you see them? Do you see that they are better than expected, or do you think they are just what you expected, or do you think they are worse? Please feel free to vote. In the meantime, let's see where the growth was coming from. First, let's look at the products. Basically, you see that pretty much the growth has been driven by 4 top products, 4 promotables. Also could be partially explained by undershipment to Ukraine last year, because Ukraine also was a big consumer of those products, and if you compare here 6 months to 6 months, then you see the growth there. But also there are some other nice surprises. You see para-aminosalicylic acid very nicely up. You see etidine very nicely up. You see others, and furadine, you see that one being nicely up. So basically all products are growing except 2, which is remontadine. And remontadine very much depends on whether or not there has been an outbreak of flu in the region. So since there hasn't really been this year, so remontadine is falling. And quinacridinol, which is supplied according to contracts, similar to MAG. So contracts orders received this year until July 1st have been a little smaller than last year. So it's anyway, the decline there is very, very small. So basically, anyway, out of top 15 products, 13 are growing, and the others are 2. So if you look at the countries, of course, here you see the story of Ukraine. You see the Ukraine grown very, very much compared to last year for all the reasons that I was explaining before. If you look at top 15 countries for first 6 months, you see that sales to 12 of them are increasing. It's only Kazakhstan, we had a devaluation there, and Italy and Spain falling. Italy and Spain is purely the consumer of our chemical products, and so there hasn't been less orders than normally for some of the products, so they have a little bit of reduction. But as I said, Kazakhstan, due to devaluation, we were expecting Kazakhstan's sales to be slightly lower than expected when we prepared the budgets at the end of last year. So all the top 4 countries have grown each by at least 1.3 million euros. Poland and the Netherlands, each of them has been growing by at least 1 million euros. If you look at nominal terms, Ukraine has grown by almost 6 million euros, Russia by 2.5, and Latvia by almost 2 million euros. If you look in percentage-wise, you'll see that Poland, of course, has grown by 4,000%, Ukraine by 300%, and the Netherlands by 180%. So most of the growth really comes from, in terms of nominal terms, really comes from top 4 countries. So what has happened in the meantime since our last webinar? That was announced that in July we acquired another 25.8% of shares in Silinos, and now our total stake in the company is almost 97%. Now we are about to we just launched some of their products to Belarus. We are expecting first shipments of Silinos' products to China, Hong Kong, Macau, probably Singapore and South Korea within the next, some of them within the next month and some of them in the next year. So prior to all the efforts we will be putting, all the top of efforts we'll be putting to make this company a success in export markets, we decided that we would feel a lot safer, a lot more motivated if we had a bit bigger share. So we increased the share, and the transaction itself is not fully completed yet, but it should be finally finalized as a matter of days. Also, one of the recent events, which I also had been referring to a couple of times already in this webinar, is that we have decided to be cautious, a little cautious at least, and due to all the tensions between Ukraine and Russia and EU and Russia, we have decided to come up with the provisions on all the outstanding receivables from those two countries. Be discussed, and we agreed that 4.5% at this point in time is a decent estimate of how much we should provide, and that resulted in a bit more than €1 million. And also by the way, in this respect, and we would like to know what's your opinion. How do you look at this? Did we do the right thing? I mean, was it a decent reflection of risks that there are? Maybe you think that it wasn't necessary at all and we should keep our profits up, or maybe you think we should actually make even higher provisions because the risks are probably even bigger than that. So please feel free to answer. And also, during our last webinar, we pretty much talked about all the capex needs that there are, and because of all the investment programs and risks around, we suspended our dividend program for 2 years. Now that has now resulted in us receiving a loan from SEB Bank of €14 million to finance our capex needs for this year, and also partially for next year. So this also has been a important event. Now, since we've covered pretty much the regular part of the webinar, the formal sort of part, as you know, every time we try to focus on something, and for a number of reasons, this time I decided to focus on Russia. It is a biggest market of ours. And the situation with Russia, both politically and economically, is reasonably far from stable and predictable. So let's look at what it is we do in Russia and what it is we sell there. Unlike with Belarus, unfortunately, there is no single nice and undoubtful data available on the market for each of our products, so I don't really have data on that, but I have several other interesting pieces of information, and let's see what it is. Now, Russia, the big country, the biggest country in territorially, with a population of about 146 million people. The biggest city is the capital Moscow with 11 million people, followed by 5 million people living in Petersburg, and all the other big towns are slightly more than 1 million people. And you know our marketing effort in Russia, and it's only very, very recently, about slightly more than a year ago, that we started to have a presentation in cities with less than 1 million people. So, but in all the towns that you see in this list, we have already our marketing sales force working. Per capita GDP in 2013 is about slightly less than $15,000. So it's basically comparable, slightly less than per capita GDP in Latvia. So what is the pharma market like in Russia? So we're talking about pharma market, commercial pharma market, because we are not really into hospital sales or big governmental purchases, so we're talking only about commercial market here. So the commercial pharma market of Russia, according to different estimates, is worth about 500 billion Russian rubles, or about 10 billion euros, and about 4 billion units were sold last year. So that leads us to average price of a unit about 120 rubles, or about 2.5 euros. Only a little less than half of this, of the units, are sold in a price range of 3 to 10 euros per unit, and sales in this segment have been growing for several years in a row. Sales in a smaller segment, a cheaper segment, below 3 euros, are shrinking. So basically, Russian market is moving away from cheap medicines to more sophisticated, more expensive ones. About 77% in terms of price, or 44% in terms of unit, are imported medicines, which means that generally locally made medicines are cheaper. But in terms of units, share of Russian medicines is declining as Russian price for Russian medicines is increasing. Gradually, Russians are introducing more strict production standards. So also this price difference between imported products and Russian products, Russian-made products, is shrinking and is most likely going to continue shrinking. About 54% of terms of price, excuse me, and 31% in terms of units are prescription medicines. So, there is no change in this division, major change in this division for last number of years. Also giving you a hint that generally prescription medicines tend to be a bit more expensive than the over-the-counter medicines. That's pretty much the case throughout the world and in Russia too. So how have we been doing? It has been our most important market since the company was created in the early 70s. We have always, since the privatization, had a representative office there. At some point, even we had a daughter company. At some point also, up to 2008, we were organizing our marketing activities in Russia using our web office. We discontinued that practice in 2008 when Trade Technologies International got involved, and after that, if you remember, our Russian sales were improving significantly. Trading with Russia has always, been accompanied with different kind of risks. Sometimes it's political, sometimes there's like Latvia-Russia relationship risks issues, and all the time it has been, most of the times has been currency risks. And as you know, we are selling there for rubles, but the sort of notional exchange rate we apply in that we try to, of course, price all the ruble risks in. This year we have shipped our products to 8 leading Russian pharmaceutical wholesalers. So we are trying to diversify our risks in this respect too. If you look back in history, and this chart, the previous chart you saw how sales in Russia in nominal terms have been growing, but this chart shows how big has been Russia's shares in our consolidated sales. Basically, what you see here, it's coming down from previous years, from 2002 and 3 and 4, when the share was closer to 50%. It was coming down to about 37% in 2006. But then when we launched the new marketing scheme, it went up again, and in 2010 it reached 48%. But ever since we launched pharmacies, and ever since we were more active in other countries like Central Asian countries, and ever since we got the qualification of WHO and started all the other diversification mechanisms, you see that share of Russia in our total sales has been decreasing again, and now this year it's at the level of 34% for first half. If you look even further back to when we were privatized, and basically Russia's share in our sales was as high as almost 80%. And in those 80%, our sales were dominated by Remantadine. So to put it very simply, those days Olainfarm was the company that produced Remantadine and sold it to Russia. The illusion of exposure to Russia without losing the sales momentum in this country has always been a challenge. and for the management, and all the effort, all the events that I was telling you about, including pharmacy chain in Latvia, including entering other markets, has been of course challenges that we have managed to meet so far. As I said, in 2010 it was a peak of 48%, and that pretty much reflects the successful marketing scheme started there. Also, let's see how Silvanos's future prospects for exports to new markets. That also might add in the evolution of Russia's share in our consolidated sales. So let's see, what do we sell there? 11 leading products here last year in Russia. Basically, you see the pie chart is pretty much similar to what's the overall pie chart, except that nobody has much bigger share, about 30%, and all the others are very, very close to what we see in overall products pie chart. There are some exemptions, of course. You don't have MAG here, you don't have PASA here, but you have chlorobutanoate hydrate. That's probably the only chemical product we sell to Russia, and have Gistafen, which is at this very moment is a reasonably small antihistamine product that we are strengthening our marketing effort in Russia. Not a whole lot of success there yet, but it's on the market, and it's gradually we expect it to grow. Nulofen is our second biggest product, and it's currently undergoing rebranding process in Russia. At the moment, it's still better known as Phenibut there, but the rebranding is underway. Now, Nervidin. So as you know, it's about 30% of our Russian sales. So I have 3 forms there, and the retail price, they're all prescription, and you can see how Nervidin has grown over the last 2 years from slightly more than 6 million euros to almost 9 million euros, with expected sales this year being close to 10 million euros, so in Russia alone. So the price range is, as you see, between 13 and 20 euros per pack. So it's upper part of the market. It's in a market segment that isn't growing, price-wise market segment that isn't growing as nicely as a medium price, but generally is growing too. But it's reasonably expensive, as you see. If you look at Nulofen, so it's second best selling product with 60% in sales. I have 2 forms, capsules and tablets. It's undergoing rebranding. It's a prescription product, and retail price being about 12 euros. So this product has grown even nicer from about 2 million euros 3 years ago to about 4.5 million euros last year, and we are expecting 6 million of sales this year. So retail price about 12 euros, also slightly above this most rapidly growing price range group. Adaptol, our third product, only 1 form, 5 milligram tablets, also prescription. 14% of our Russian sales is made by this product. It's being promoted. Also, Nervidin and Nulofen also are being promoted there. Retail price very nicely in the group that most of demand is. So we're talking about roughly 8 to 8.5 euros per pack. Furamag, next best-selling product, also about 14%. We have 3 forms, 2 types of capsules, 2 dosages of capsules and sachets. Sachets we sell the brand name Furosol. It is prescription drug, and it's depending on the dosage in a form, we're talking about 6 to 8 euros per pack. Also, this one is promoted product. Etazine is also promoted, 7% of sales. About 800 Russian rubles per pack, which is roughly 16 euros. It's pretty much very specific anti-arrhythmic product. It is a prescription product, and it is promoted. Fencarol, very difficult product because it's antihistamine, extremely competitive segment. You know, a lot of antihistamines, a lot of them being advertised on TV, so very tough market. 6% of our Russian sales are made by this product. We have 2 doses of tablets. It's over the counter, so non-prescription, and we're talking about price range between 3.5 to 4.5 euros per pack. Remantadine, typical generic, 7th best-selling product now in Russia, but was by far the best some 15 years ago. So makes up about 5% of our sales, not promoted. It's only one form. We are talking about over the counter, and it's about 4.2 euros a pack. A few more products left. Furadolin, it's 8th product, 5% of Russian sales. Generic, not being promoted, only one type of pills. It's prescription, and talking about 3 euros a pack. Furagin, same story, very small product, 2% of Russian sales, one tablet, prescription, slightly less than 4 euros a pack. Gistafen, it's even smaller, the antihistamine that we just are talking about. There's only one type of tablets, very difficult market. It's prescription, and it's 8.6 euros a pack it costs. So vast majority of our product fits 3 to 10 euros price range per pack. A group which is has a very clear trend to grow, basically very close to every other product in Russian pharma market is sold in this particular price group. 89% of Russian sales are prescription products, so that fits well also in division between prescription and over-the-counter sales in Russian market totally. Like in all the other countries, leading products, best-selling products that they have in terms of volume. They also have the best margin. Also, the increase in price in locally produced products in Russia also increases our possibility to raise the price for non-promoted products like Furadolin and Furagin. And they are in the niche that are more sensitive to price, so there is a good outlook for that. Of course, everybody pretty much expects that I'll try to comment on how we see our future in Russia, since it is our biggest market. But since this crisis and all the related events are developing very rapidly and sometimes even controversially, I'm afraid that any speculations, any future forecasts might any day become quite irrelevant. Still, we do see that for the nearest future, Russia is going to be our main market. The sanctions adopted at the moment and counter sanctions do not really influence our business, have not really influenced our business with Russia so far. Some directly, some indirect impact may occur if sanctions are applied to bank payment infrastructure in Russia. And as you remember, there have been some speculations about that. The only countermeasure by Russia that partially does apply to pharmaceutical industry that has been reported and is very strongly opposed locally in Russia was to limit the imports from EU countries of over-the-counter products if they have similar active ingredient product produced in Russia. In our case, that would impact sales of Remantadine and Fencarol, and as of last year, these two products equal 11% of our Russian sales. So these are the risks that are sort of on the horizon, and this is how much they would cost us if they do materialize. So that was it. That was pretty much all I had to say today about Q2, first half of 2014, and about what it is and what it is we are selling and how we are selling and what it is we expect from Russian market. Now, last polling question, a multiple choice question, is a very traditional one. Is which country you're from? Pretty much really traditional. So that's it. I'm pretty much ready for your questions. Except for the last poll question, which wouldn't be a multiple choice, but I would like you to write something in the comment section in case this topic of countries that we have pretty much done second webinar in a row. There are still, of course, a lot of important to us countries that we haven't covered. Of course, Latvia and the new countries for us, new countries of Central Asia. Please tell me if you think we should continue with countries for a couple of more webinars, or there are some other topics that you would like us to cover. So please feel free to write your comments on that, and all your comments will be very, very highly appreciated. And let's try to make our next webinars more attractive and more answering your questions and concerns. But yeah, now I'm ready for Q&A session.
Yes, thank you, Salvis, very much for the presentation. So first of all, we will proceed with the questions which were sent in previously. And first question comes from Taivo Silaste. And the first question is, loans to management and employees has been on a steady increase starting from second quarter of 2007, reaching a record of 3.4 million euros after a big boost last quarter. Are there any signs of slowing down or reversing?
Well, they're not only signs of slowing down, it's already happening, and not only slowing down, it is reversing. As we speak, I think something like €500,000 have actually been paid back, so it is it is going back, and we do expect it is a matter of a year or two maximum that number will disappear. Agita?
Yes, and the continuation to this question, is this mainly loans to the management board, not the employees?
Yes. There are some loans to employees as well, but biggest part of the amount is to the management.
Also, yes, and also, is this money not required in the day-to-day operations of the company?
It is required. It is being paid back. It is being paid back with an interest. And interest is bigger than what we pay for our bank obligations. Yeah, it is being paid back, and yeah, it is generating. It's not like money waiting something, doing nothing.
Thank you. And next question, given the record-breaking sales and profit numbers, has the company re-evaluated paying dividends this year?
Excuse me, I lost the connection somewhere.
I'm sorry, I will repeat the question. So, given the record-breaking sales and profit numbers, has the company re-evaluated paying dividends this year?
No, not for this year. Not because of good 6 months. As I said, although 6 months have really been record-breaking, and I mean, even if you follow our monthly sales report, even July figures are very, very decent. As I said, the situation might change any given day, and for me, given the unstable circumstances and unstable conditions, and both politically and also economically in Russia and Ukraine, for me now to say that we are revising the dividends put on hold would be somewhat irresponsible. Well, if our capex program goes well, and if our sales remain to be record-breaking and profits remain to be record-breaking, and money comes in from those markets, then we might as well consider that at some point. We might decide to pay it for this year, but this is a bit too early to call, really.
And how much of the receivables from Russia and Ukraine are currently overdue after creating a provision of 1 million euros at the end of the second quarter?
Well, I don't really know the exact number, but there is no specific new overdues due to recent situation. It's more that we follow the news, we see the developments, and I mean, if there were some more serious concerns about not getting given amount of cash from those markets, our provisions would have been much bigger. So there's no major new overdues. But the sort of news coming from those markets make us be very, very careful, and so this is a reason.
Thank you. And has the situation, this current situation in Russia and Ukraine, both macroeconomic and political, recently changed your aggressiveness in the market? Salvi, I think I don't hear you, and I see that your microphone is not on. Okay, I see at the moment Salvis has, because of some technical disturbance, left the webinar. Let's wait for a few seconds and he will come back. Okay, great. I see Salvis is back, but now his microphone should be needed to switch on.
Yep.
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. Started testing the page somehow.
Okay, we can hear you. Thank you.
So I missed the last question, I guess.
Yes, so the last question is about the current situation in Russia and in Ukraine. And the question is, does recently the situation has changed your aggressiveness in the market?
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. We remain as aggressive as usually. So it hasn't impacted our operations. Even quite recently, I know that might sound weird. About a month ago, slightly more than a month ago, whereas our partners were still organizing conferences in Donetsk. I don't know how they get this done, but so we are to a reasonable extent we are trying to maintain the momentum where we can, because these are way too important markets, both of them for us to put them on hold or something. So we are pretty much doing our business as usual and hoping for the quick resolution of situation, but being careful of this.
Thank you. And what is the number of different customers you have in Russia and in Ukraine? Are there just a few big resellers that supply a big amount of customers, or is the direct customer base much wider?
No, in no country except Latvia, we're selling directly to pharmacies. In Russia, as I wrote, we have 8, well, let's say from top 10 wholesalers, 8 are clients of ours. And then it's their task to deliver our products to either further wholesalers or pharmacies. But that's in Russia, where we're taking care of our marketing exercises separately from it's not wholesalers' business to do this. This is our business. It's slightly different in Ukraine. In Ukraine and in Georgia, there are 2 countries with a similar scheme, and the scheme is that there is an exclusive dealer the dealer is given a discount, and then it's dealer's task to take care of all the marketing and promotional activities that we do in those markets. So this is how it works in Ukraine. So there is basically, well, two partners, you can say. One of them is exclusive for our final dosage product, and another is being our chemical products partner. But vast majority is going then to our exclusive partner in Ukraine. Yeah.
Thank you. And next questions will be from the notes later totally. Readers, so first question is like this. Will the dividend policy remain unchanged considering the situation in Ukraine and increase of allowances for debitors? And is it planned to increase the paid out dividend rate in the next 2 years?
Yeah, well, the changes to dividend policy we did announce on last webinar that we are going to put on hold and dividend payments for 2 years. And we start at the rate of 17.5% payout ratio. Currently, we plan to restart it from the profits of 2015. And that decision has been made to some extent because of a worsening situation in the region. No changes to that. So the changes have already been made, and we are not changing it back.
Thank you. And is the capacity of Olainfarm's manufacturing plant currently sufficient? And do you plan to increase your manufacturing site in the nearest 2 years?
Well, one of the reasons we have reasonably big capex expenditures for this year and the next year is to deal with capacities. Several chemical capacities, including for synthesis of Nurofen, for synthesis of Adaptol, are becoming a little scarce, and we have already pretty much completed the reconstruction or capacity raising exercise for those. Also, we are building a brand new final dosage unit, and one part of the final dosage unit will be dedicated to what we call small batches, and that would take on it batches for all the smaller markets. B, therefore, will release our major final dosage factory, so they can do bigger batches without interruptions for smaller ones. As you know, those of you that have been here and seen the site and gone to the final dosage form site, moving from one product to another requires a lot of time. It's actually one shift whereby you wash the equipment, wash the premises from ceiling down to floor, and that takes time. So through that exercise, through shifting all the small batches away, we will increase our capacities. Nikita?
Thank you. In 2013, Mr. Maligin said that Olainfarm wants not only to be a pharmaceutical manufacturing company, but also a chemical factory. Do you have anything new to share regarding the development of chemical products or start the production of new raw materials?
Well, yes, we do, and it's happening, and it's happening in every single webinar where I'm sharing with you our top 15 markets, top 15 products, excuse me, and in those top 15 products, it's at least 3 products that are purely chemical products, and even MAG, which is monoacetyl glucose, which is a chemical product, it's not a pharmaceutical product, it's a regular member of our top 10 product pie chart. Yes, we are selling chemical products in increasing volumes, and also when you look at our country sales reports every month, you see sometimes there are countries like Italy, Spain, United States, India, Taiwan, etc., etc. Normally those are countries where we ship our chemical products. Also, and not also, the most important function really of the chemical side of our business is to produce raw materials or APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, for the final dosage forms for the pills and capsules that we produce here for our own needs for sale further on. So, chemical plant, chemical factory really is a vital, extremely important part of our business, and even without the selling chemical products to anyone else, it is still very important, crucial part. Yes, since we have it, we of course are trying to develop chemical synthesis as a business for sale, and as I said, we have some success here and there. So yeah, I have things to share, and I'm sharing them, and chemical side is growing and developing. By the way, next month we are participating in a worldwide chemical and pharmaceutical exhibition in Paris, and this whole exhibition, really, what we do here, what we sell there is are really our chemical products, and every single year after such exhibitions, we have new contracts coming in. Some of them develop into longer-term cooperation, some of them don't, but we are working on it, and clearly developing that.
Now I see here in this chat, Ivo from BNS has asked us a new question, and this is, are there plans to acquire full ownership of Sylvanos?
There surely are. There is no rush, of course, but shall we agree with the holder of remaining 3.5%? We will gladly do this. But anyway, we feel more comfortable with 96% ownership than we felt with 71% ownership. So yes, there are, but no, we are not desperate about it.
Thank you very much. I see at the moment there is no one. I see there is coming a new question in the chat, so let's wait for it.
He's probably got his nickname after he invested in Olainfarm shares, I guess.
Yeah, okay, nice. So he's just telling thanks for sharing this latest information. It's really nice.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining again, Moneymaker. And yes, thanks, Moneymaker, for unfortunately the only comments to what I asked about what should I focus in next webinars. Okay, since there are no other suggestions, next webinar I'll try to focus on some of the other markets. I think probably Latvia is worth looking at, because Latvia is indeed our second or third biggest market. So let's look at what our positions are and how we're doing and what we're planning in this respect, unless there are any other suggestions.
So thank you very much, Salvis, and thanks for all participants today. And I just want to remind you that this presentation and also recording of webinar will be available on Nasdaq OMX website. You just need to follow announcements of Olainfarm.
Thank you, and see you somewhere early December, I guess. I hope to surprise you with new sales and profits records, and announce a huge dividend. Anyway, thanks for joining in, and take care, and see you in 3 months.